This growing season has been a little strange and my tomato crop has been sparse. Instead of focusing on bulk canning like I usually do, I wanted to create some unique preserves that highlight flavor. One of my favorite ways to do that is with roasting and smoking. Roasting concentrates tomato flavor and skips hours of simmering on the stovetop. And smoking adds a depth you just can't get any other way. I started by cutting both paste tomatoes and flavorful heirlooms into similar sized chunks and then spread them in a large stainless steel pan. Out on the grill, I kept the temperature between 350 to 400 degrees Fahrenheit and roasted them for a couple hours. I also set up my smoking tube. This was a perfect chance to test it out. While the tomatoes roasted, I picked some peppers to add to the grill. If you're already smoking food, it makes sense to batch flavor. My plan was to turn these peppers into a smoky spice blend later. Once the tomatoes softened, it was time to puree. You can use a blender as is, but I prefer to run them through a food mill. That removes the seeds and skins while pressing the pulp through a fine sieve. It takes a few extra minutes, but the payoff is a smoother, richer sauce. And we have to reverse the handle occasionally to release trapped pulp. Back on the grill, I steamed the smoked peppers in a covered pan to loosen the skins, while the tomato puree went back on the grill. This helped the sauce reduce and absorb even more smoke. I also saved and smoked the tomato skins and seeds. Waste not, want not. Later, those scraps got dehydrated and ground into a spice mix. The smell alone was worth it. When the sauce thickened enough to coat a spoon, I brought it inside to finish. I added chopped onions and garlic from this year's harvest, plus a spoonful of my homemade herb salt. For freshness, I minced basil, oregano, thyme, and parsley, stirring them in with a touch of our honey to balance the acidity. Here's where canning safety is critical. Tomatoes hover at the low end of safe acidity for water bath canning, so you must add acid. I prepare half-pint jars, adding a quarter teaspoon of citric acid per jar. Bottled lemon juice is another alternative. You should always follow a tested recipe for processing times and adjustments, just to be safe. With the jars hot and clean, I ladled in the sauce, leaving a half-inch headspace. Then wiped the rims, placed the lids, and tightened the bands to fingertip tightness. The jars went into a boiling water bath for 35 minutes. Half pints and pints both use this timing at sea level. Don't forget to adjust for altitude if you live above 1,000 feet. And after processing, I turned off the heat, let the jars rest for 5 minutes in the canner, then carefully removed them. As they cooled, I listened for that familiar ping of a successful seal. The next day, I always check the seals again, remove the bands, wash the jars, and label before storing in a cool, dark place. And remember those scraps? I dehydrated the smoked skin, seeds, and peppers and then ground them into a seasoning blend. It's earthy, smoky, and unlike anything you can buy off the shelf. It's become a staple in my spice cabinet. And of course, the best test of pizza sauce is on a pizza. The smoky roasted tomatoes gave this batch a depth of flavor that makes homemade pizza next level.